Om Ganatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mahyam Dadhati Shapadantikam. We've reached 3.2.12. Yanmarchali Lau Paikam Swayoga Maya Balam Darshayata Grihitam Vismapanam Svasya Trasobagardhe Parampadam Bhushana Bhushanangam. The Lord appeared in the mortal world by his internal potency, Yogamaya. He came in his eternal form, which is just suitable for his pastimes. These pastimes were wonderful for everyone, even for those proud of their opulence, including the Lord himself in his form as the Lord of Vaikuntha. Thus, his, Sri Krishna's, transcendental body is the ornament of all ornaments. What's making that sound? Something outside. Oh. A transmitter.
FM radio transmitter.
Oh, so now it's off, so there's no FM transmission.
We weren't doing it previously either. We were not doing it. It was just on. It was not in use.
It's just on, but it's not really doing anything.
No. So we switched it off, now it's quiet. We switched it off, now it's quiet.
Yeah. But we're not losing anything. No one's... Okay. In conformity with the Vedic hymns, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam, the personality of Godhead is more excellent than all other living beings within all the universes in the material world. He is the chief of all living entities. No one can surpass him or be equal to him in wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, or renunciation. When Lord Krishna was within this universe, he seemed to be a human being, because he appeared in a manner just suitable for his pastimes in the mortal world. He did not appear in human society in his Vaikuntha feature with 4 hands, because that would not have been suitable for his pastimes. But in spite of his appearing as a human being, no one was or is equal to him in any respect in any of the 6 different opulences. Everyone is more or less proud of his opulence in this world, but when Lord Krishna was in human society, he excelled all his contemporaries within the universe. So that's the first thing, that Krishna surpasses all other living beings. Well, we'll keep reading and then we'll go back. When the Lord's pastimes are visible to the human eye, they are called prakat, and when they are not visible, they are called aprakat. In fact, the Lord's pastimes never stop, just as the sun never leaves the sky. We've talked about that.
How the Bhagavad Half of the Bhagavad was yesterday. Half of the Bhagavad was read.
Oh, but did we read this yesterday?
Yes.
Okay. Prakat and aprakat. Yeah, that's right. Or maybe we read practically all of it. We'll go back and look at the verse. This verse is quoted several times in Chaitanya Charitamrita and elsewhere. Martya Lila. Martya Lila means the activities of an ordinary human being. The ordinary human beings undergo birth and death. And it appears that Krishna is like one of those. Yes, come in, whoever you are. Hare Krishna. So, Martya Lila Upayikam, his features when he comes are just suitable for his pastimes in human society. If he were moving around Gokula with 4 arms, carrying Shankha Chakra Gada Padma, that wouldn't work. That would be unsuitable. So he comes in the form most suitable for his pastimes here. Then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, did he bring his 2-armed form back to Vaikuntha? That would be very strange. But the Krishna form is eternally existing in Goloka Vrindavan. And even in Vaikuntha such sweetness is not seen. Swayoga maya balam darshayata grihitam. The Lord, by his own power, sambhavam yatmamaya, yogamaya, atmamaya srijamyaham. He comes by his own energy, by the strength of his own energies, and shows himself. Grihitam, the Prabhupada translates discovered. Sometimes it said he accepts this form, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments that he accepts it means he accepts it eternally. And he gives a grammatical example of how accept is used in that sense. It doesn't mean he didn't have it and then he accepted it. Like, I didn't have any water and then you brought me some water, I accepted it. But in the case of Krishna, in this verse, Grihitam accepts a form, means he accepts it always. It's always acceptable, or always accepted. Vismapanam, a very astonishing form. His own forms, Vismapanam Swasricha Sobragardhe, which was full of opulence. Padam Padam Bhushana Bhushanangam, and the ornament of all ornaments. Even the ornaments that he wore were ornamented, not ornamented, but they became beautiful by being on his body, rather than the other way around. In the material world, we put ornaments because we want to look good. But when Krishna puts on ornaments, then the ornaments look good. So, Bhushana Bhushanangam. He was wonderful for those who were proud of their opulences, even the Lord of Vaikuntha. Therefore, the Lord of Vaikuntha was eager to see him also. He stole the sons of a Brahmin just to entice Krishna to come, and so that he could have Krishna's darshan. All right, any questions on this?
Does this verse talk about disappearance of Krishna?
The disappearance of Krishna?
Yes.
No. Prabhupada talks about it in the purport that, of course, the whole context is Krishna's disappearance. Because in this section, Krishna has disappeared, and Vidura is asking Uddhava, what about Krishna? What about Krishna's associates? And they've all disappeared. So the whole context is separation from Krishna in Krishna's disappearance. But there's nothing specifically in the verse about disappearance, but Prabhupada picks up the theme, prakat and aprakat. Prakat means manifest, and aprakat. Like the sun is, there's no question of existing or not existing, or coming into existence and going out of existence. It's not that the sun falls apart every night, or ceases to exist and then reinvents itself in the morning, but it's just manifest and unmanifest. Even the soul, Avyaktadini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata avyakta yeva tatraka paridevana. Soul is unmanifest, then manifest, then unmanifest. Now we're all manifest here. Before we were unmanifest. Again, death will come, we'll be unmanifest. But for the soul, najayate mriyate va, there's no birth or death. So it's only the appearance of birth and death, where by nature's arrangement we're manifest, not manifest. But our being manifest and unmanifest is subject to the conditions of material nature. And Krishna's being manifest or not is by his own arrangement, Atma-maya. Anything else?
Same principle applies the manifestation. Same principle applies of the manifestation of Lord in heart.
And Lord in the heart. Same principle means what?
Prakat or aprakat.
What do you mean by in that context? What is?
He is present as Paramatma, always in the heart. But he get revealed when the heart get pure. So, same principle.
That's also true, but that's a little different. Generally, this prakat and aprakat is used in this context of Krishna's manifesting himself in the world and becoming unmanifest. But it's also true that when we become pure devotees, then Krishna is always manifest. But the term, I've never seen the term used that way. But he can manifest himself as he likes. Premanjanaj churita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokyanti yam sham sundaram achincha gunasurupam govindamadi purusham tamahang bhajami. When he wants, he can manifest himself always to the pure devotee. Is that all right? But even to pure devotees like Vidura and Uddhava, now Krishna was aprakat. Although they were pure devotees, the Lord had passed out of the vision of human society. And so they were feeling separation. Is that okay?
How we should understand that Prabhupada says that there was no time when I was not with Krishna. So,
when I was not?
With Krishna, always Prabhupada was with Krishna, that Krishna was always with me. Prabhupada says that.
Well, first let's get the quotation right. What are you quoting?
Prabhupada said that
sometimes for spiritual master, he said that I was, always my spiritual master is always with me, or the Krishna, he says that. Yes.
When we follow the instructions of the spiritual master, then the spiritual master is always present. or Krishna is always present, same thing. But therefore it's no difference. Prabhupada said that I'm always feeling that my spiritual master is with me, even though he left the vision of this world, so he's aprakat. His bhakti, what do we say? Nityalila pravishta. He's entered the eternal path. So aprakat, he's not present, visible in this world. But for the person who's fully engaged in his service, he's present. There's a difference, and yet there's no difference. Just like Prabhupada said when he finished Chaitanya Charitamrita, that if his Guru Maharaj had been here, there would have been a great cause of celebration at the completion of the book. But still, I'm confident that he's pleased by this work. So the spiritual master is present by his instructions and by the execution of his instructions. Is that okay? And by remembrance of him. Prabhupada gave the example that Arjuna was feeling separation from Krishna, but then when he remembered Krishna's instructions as given in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, then he felt that Krishna was present. So Prabhupada said, when you feel separation from the spiritual master, we have to remember his words of instruction. He said, then you will not feel that he is absent, you will feel that he is with you. Anything else? Yad dharma sunor bhata rajasuye nirikshadrik svaschayanam trilokaha kartsnyena jadyeha katam vidhatur arvakshato koshalam ityamanyata. All the demigods from the upper, lower and middle planetary systems assembled at the altar of the Rajasuya sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira. After seeing the beautiful bodily features of Lord Krishna, they all contemplated that he was the ultimate dexterous creation of Brahma, the creator of human beings. Purport: there was nothing comparable to the bodily features of Lord Krishna when he was present in this world. The most beautiful object in the material world may be compared to the blue lotus flower or the full moon in the sky. But even the lotus flower and the moon were defeated by the beauty of the bodily features of Lord Krishna. And this was certified by the demigods, the most beautiful living creatures in the universe. The demigods thought that Lord Krishna, like themselves, was also created by Lord Brahma, but in fact Brahma was created by Lord Krishna. It was not within the power of Brahma to create the transcendental beauty of the Supreme Lord. No one is the creator of Krishna. He is the creator of everyone. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate. So everyone gathered at the Rajasuya Yajna of Yudhishthira Maharaj, and everyone appreciated that Krishna is wonderful. And they praised him in this way, or contemplated in this way, that now Brahma has really done it. He's outdone himself. He's created men, he's created women. Women are beautiful. He's created demigods, he's created apsaras, He's created so many beautiful forms, but this time he's really done it. He's outdone himself. In this way they were thinking, Koshalam, Shito Koshalam, Ityamanyata. Yat dharma suno hata rajasuya. So he's speaking to Vidura. You were also there. Vidura was also present at the Rajasuya Yajna. So you were there. You saw how everyone was appreciating the personality of Godhead. Yes. Any questions?
Is it like that we feel Lord attractive or beautiful according to our purity?
Say it again. Are we appreciative of the Lord according to our purity?
Like Kamsa also see, but he don't see.
Yeah, Kamsa, because of being inimical to the Lord, didn't appreciate the Lord. Even he was envious. There's some quotation in Nectar of Devotion that Krishna, he may have killed some water snake, but why is he such a big deal? In that way, an envious person, if you do something wonderful, they'll say, oh, that wasn't such a big thing. Just like Prabhupada, actually, I guess it's all right to bring it up. His godbrothers would say, well, okay, I could have had some hippies also as disciples if I'd been interested in that. Abhay Babu or Swami Maharaj was, okay, he was good in business, so he had some success. Somehow or other to minimize, because envy, that I couldn't do it, and he did it, so somehow not to give credit. So Kamsa didn't want to give credit to Krishna. An intelligent person would have seen, wait a second, I've sent Agasura, I've sent Aristasura, I've sent Putana, I've sent this one, I've sent that one, and Krishna's killed them all. Wait a second, Krishna must be extraordinary. But no, he's thinking that still I can do something. No amount of persuasion would be effective, because demonic, duskritana muddha. Just like Prabhupada gave the example that the material world, everything is so beautifully created, but the Mayavadis will say, oh, it's all false. Jagan Mithya. Jagan Mithya. Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya. Brahma is real, but the world is false. Because they don't want to give credit to Krishna. It's all Maya, it's all illusion, it's all false. But they don't want to give credit to Krishna, who's created all of these varieties. They're not false, they're temporary. There's a difference. Prabhupada gives the example, it's said that all that glitters is not gold. But that it's not gold doesn't mean it's nothing. It's something. It's just not gold. Or an oyster, something, what is that example of the oyster shell? It appears to be something else. But then, it's not what you think it is, but it's not nothing. Or the rope and the snake. It may not be a snake, but it's something. It's a rope. So, because of envy, God is false, Asatyam apratishtam te jagadahur anisharam aparaspara sambhutam kimanyat kamohaitakam. What is this God? Nature is sufficient to accomplish everything. The interactions of natural forces are sufficient to bring about everything in the creation. Aparaspara sambhutam kimanyat kamohaitakam. What other source? So asatyam, the world is false to begin with. Apratishta, there's no basis in anything. Jagadahur anisharam, there's no God in control. So that's envy. And so even though Krishna has laid everything out in such a way that they should appreciate, God has provided. What is that? Nityo nityanam chaitanas chait eko bahunam vidadati kama. He's giving everything we need. But instead of appreciating that Krishna is giving us everything, this is false, that's false, there's no God, everything is a product of our own endeavors. So then they can't see Krishna who's behind. Mam ebhya paramavya. Muto yam nabhijanati mam ebhya paramavyam. Tribhir gunamaya bhavaya ebi sarvamidam tagat. Mohitam nabhijanati. Those who are bewildered by the modes of nature, which means those who don't surrender to Krishna, they can't appreciate that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And simple cowherd girls who love Krishna can see Krishna with eyes of love, but a Kamsa demon. Of course, here Uddhava will lament that we couldn't see Krishna either. We thought he was an ordinary human being. But that's also Yogamaya Bala, the pastime energy of the Lord at work. Is that okay?
So, the demigods in the Rashtriya sacrifice, they had a certain level of purity.
They had
a certain level of purity. And so there was a level of purity of sages like Vidura, who wasn't there. So, according to the level of their purity, the demigods were considering him a creation of Brahma. And Vidura was considering him the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Is it fine to say that the difference in the perception of the demigods and Vidura was due to their relative difference in purity?
But even Vidura wasn't seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He was and he wasn't, according to Yogamaya's arrangement. Yudhisthira was seeing Krishna as the personality of Godhead, but at the same time sending him to deliver messages to Duryodhana, as if he were an order carrier. So everyone is seeing a different way, according to the arrangement of Yogamaya or Mahamaya. Mahamaya is finally a division of Yogamaya. The example is the arena of Kamsa, where everyone was seeing, the wrestlers were seeing Krishna to be like a stone. A stone. And the gopis were seeing him to be like Cupid personified. And the elder gopas and gopis were seeing Krishna to be like their child. In different ways, everybody was seeing Krishna, so many different angles of vision. They were seeing the same Krishna, according to their affection for him or lack of affection for him also. So at the Rajasuya we could understand the same force must be at play. The demigods will see one way, Yudhisthira will see a different way. Even among the Pandavas they saw differently. The Yudhisthira is seeing him as a junior. The Nakul and Sahadev are seeing him as a senior. The Arjuna and Bhima are more or less equal level. So according to different relationship. Is that okay? Yasyanuraga plutaha sarasa lilavaloka pratilabdhamana vrajastriyo drigbir anupravritta diyo vatustu kilakritya shesha. The damsels of Braja, after pastimes of laughter, humor, and exchanges of glances, were anguished when Krishna left them. They used to follow him with their eyes, and thus they sat down with stunned intelligence and could not finish their household duties. Purport. In his boyhood at Vrindavan, Lord Krishna was notorious as a teasing friend and transcendental love to all the girls of his age. His love for them was so intense there's no comparison to that ecstasy. And the damsels of Braja were so much attached to him that their affection excelled that of the great demigods like Brahma and Shiva. It'll pass. Lord Krishna finally admitted his defeat before the transcendental affection of the gopis and declared that he was unable to repay them for their unalloyed affection. Although the gopis were seemingly anguished by the Lord's teasing behavior, when Krishna would leave them, they could not tolerate the separation and used to follow him with their eyes and minds. They were so stunned by the situation that they could not finish their household duties. No one could excel him even in the dealing of love exchanged between boys and girls. It is said in the revealed scriptures that Lord Krishna personally never goes beyond the boundary of Vrindavan. He remains there eternally because of the transcendental love of the inhabitants. Thus, even though he is not visible at present, he is not away from Vrindavan for a moment. Any questions here? Mm-hmm.
Is it true that even though Krishna never leaves Vrindavan, when he goes to see the residents of Vrindavan, they think they are dreaming? Sometimes when Krishna goes to see goes to meet or participate in pastimes with his residents of Vrindavan, they think that they are dreaming. Is that so?
You mean after he leaves?
After he apparently left. Like in one scenario he left, but in one consideration he never left.
Mm-hmm.
And so how could the residents of Vrindavan still stay in mode of separation if Krishna never left?
Because he removes himself from their vision. How could he they be in the mood of separation if he never left? But he left. He became unmanifested. Now every day Krishna is there, he's herding the cows, he comes back in the evening, but then he left. He got on the chariot, Akrura took him to Mathura, and he promised he'd come back, but then he didn't come. So he wasn't there. then how is he there? He's there by their feeling. He's there by their Krishna consciousness, by their love for Krishna. Even more intensely. Krishna, he used to get on the shoulders of the cowherd boys. He used to admonish the demons. He used to do all of these things. Then after Krishna, when Krishna was no longer visible, then the gopis were doing those things. One gopi would get on the other gopi's shoulders and play that I'm Krishna, or would stomp on the other gopi, Kaliya, you rascal. So they would enact all these pastimes of Krishna because they were just completely absorbed in thinking of Krishna. So in that thinking of Krishna, Krishna was present. Krishna is present by their thinking of Krishna. Physically, Krishna was absent. He was not physically, of course. Krishna sent a message, I'm between all the atoms, I'm within every atom. Everything is not different from me. But apparently, he was no longer visible. But because of their love, he was always present. But there's a parallel pastime also in Chaitanya Lila, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mother, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and went to Puri, then she was also feeling tremendous separation from her son, from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And she would cook for him, and she would do so many things, and then she would be sorry that he's not there to accept these offerings. And one time Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was talking with maybe Damodar Pandit or one devotee that would go to Bengal, and when you meet Sachimata, remind her that I'm coming regularly to accept your offerings. And do you remember the time when you offered everything, and then I ate everything, and then you thought, wait a second, did I offer it? Where I must not have offered it because it's not here? Do you remember that time? You thought it was, that your mind was playing tricks on you, but I come every day, I accept what you offer. Krishna doesn't have to accept anything from anyone. Duryodhana was practically the prince of Hastinapur. He invited Krishna for prasadam, and Krishna said, get lost. I have no interest in your, how opulently you can prepare so many lavish dishes and try to please me and get me on your side and all of that. I have no interest in eating your contaminated food. I'll go to Vidura's house and I'll eat whatever's there, because there's love. Because there's love. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhaktya prayajjati. So Krishna is not obliged to accept anything from anyone, but when there's love, he accepts. And then he says that I can't even repay you. Na parayeham, I can't repay you. Not possible for me to repay you. You'll have to be satisfied with the service itself. There's nothing I can give you. So that's one quality of Krishna's. He's controlled by love. So because of the loving feelings of the residents of Vrindavan, Krishna never steps one foot outside Vrindavan. Vrindavanam paratyaja paramekam nagacchati. Okay.
So I just wanted to confirm if it is true, something that I heard.
We hear so many things, yes.
One of the devotees told me in ISKCON that Krishna actually physically participates and comes to see his relatives in Vrindavan, but they are so much intensely in the mood of separation that they think that they are dreaming, even though it's...
Maybe they're quoting from some book that I haven't read.
I've been meaning to ask you this for quite a few days now. So, of course, you can deny to answer this question, but what I wanted to ask you is, if pertinent to this discussion, can you discuss something that Prabhupada asked you or a group of devotees to do? And it was very difficult, and if you would like to share how you were able to manage it. When there was one person...
Prabhupada has so many devotees to do so many difficult things.
One of the things that I'm a very big fan of is how Chaitanya Chaitanya was completed in 2 months. Yes.
Well, that was, of course, it's a well-known story, but at that time we were producing one book every 2 months.
2 months.
Up until that time, our standard pace was a book every 2 months, which was quite a good pace if you think about it, because that means from just manuscripts or transcription to finished book with Sanskrit editing, English editing, typesetting, proofreading, all of that. Just typesetting and proofreading alone, you typeset it, then you proofread it, and you find mistakes, and you fix the mistakes, and then there's mistakes in the fixing, and you have to fix the fixes. Another round, another round. And then so many paintings have to be done, and covers have to be designed. And so to do a book every 2 months we thought we were doing pretty well. And then we moved from New York to Los Angeles, and Prabhupada came to visit, and we'd recently acquired state-of-the-art typesetting equipment. Our previous equipment was a sort of super sophisticated typewriter. Basically, is what it was. Everything was done manually. It was so manual that you had to type every page twice. You had to set it once, and for each line record a setting. And you typed a code on the side of the page to indicate the setting. Then you typed the whole page again, setting little dials to match the settings, so that the lines would come out justified, as they're called, with even columns. And every time you had to change a font, the fonts were little balls, physical balls, like the size of a golf ball. They were even called golf balls. And one font would be the Roman font, another would be the bold font, and one would be the italic font. So when you wanted to change from Roman to italic, you physically took out one golf ball and put in another golf ball and typed the word, and then went back in this way you did it. And then diacritics was another special endeavor to accomplish certain things that you had to do for that. So it was all quite laborious. And we had two machines, two of those typewriter machines, that we were running around the clock, 24 hours a day, actually. The Merchant Marine runs on 3 shifts. If you're on the, you might work on the 12 to 4 shift, which means midnight to 4 o'clock in the morning, and then noon to 4 in the afternoon. Then there's a 4 to 8 and an 8 to 12. They similarly work. 4 hours on and 8 hours off for each worker. So we instituted that system at the press, and we were running these typesetting machines 24 hours a day, which practically wore out the machines. They were always having breakdowns, and the company was always coming to fix them, and then as soon as they fixed them, they'd break down again, and we'd call them again. And you know, the IBM, who made the machine, they used to make their money on service contracts, or made some of their money, good money, on service contracts. You bought the machine, you bought the contract, and then they would give you service for as long as the contract lasted. And how often does a machine need service? But for us, it was always. You know, for the average office in Manhattan, it was now and then. But for us, it was always, because we were running them round the clock. When we finally retired those machines, the man from the company who came to pick them up said, "These machines don't owe you anything." These machines don't owe you anything. Anyway, before we left New York, we invested in a new machine, which was very expensive. It was, I think, $60,000. At that time, yes. Maybe, no. No, I'm probably inflating it. Maybe it was 16,000. But that was also very big money. I've forgotten now whether it was 16. I don't think it could have been 60. That's an awful lot of money. $16,000 sounds possible. Anyway, back then they had a new technology which was called phototype setting, which is now also totally obsolete. But it involved you typed something, and in our case, it went onto a tape cassette where the information was recorded. Then you put the tape cassette in the machine, and it would send light through spinning fonts and shine it on photosensitive paper. And when you developed the paper, you got your text, which we would then cut up and lay out and so on. It was a big tower. You know, you've seen computer towers. Yes. So it was a tower about the height of a person with flashing lights and 16K of memory.
16K?
It was 8K standard, but we invested in an extra 8K memory board, which was this big. Anyway, Prabhupada came and toured the press and saw this wonderful machinery and also the nice arrangements. Everybody had a nice office, and there were layout tables, and there were this and there were that. So everybody was set up, quite a professional organization. Then, but we were behind. Prabhupada was translating, and he'd finished Chaitanya Charitamrita. We'd finished Adi Lila, but he'd finished Antya Lila. And we'd finished 4th canto, but he'd finished 5th canto. So there was all of Madhya Lila, all of Antya Lila, and all of 5th Canto that we were behind. So that was 17 books.
Including the 5th canto. Including the 5th canto.
That was 17 books. So Prabhupada said that now, I think with all of these facility, you can finish those books in 2 months. He was walking with Rameshwar Maharaj and Radha Ballabha, the press manager. And they looked at one another, or I don't know if Radha Ballabha was on the walk, Rameshwar certainly was. And he told Prabhupada that it was impossible. And Prabhupada said impossible was a word in the Fool's Dictionary. And if you can't do this, what is the use of your being American? And it became clear that Prabhupada wasn't speaking metaphorically or just throwing out a comment. He wanted those books in 2 months. And so Radha Ballabha and Rameshwar got together and started planning how to do it. It involved bringing in a few more press workers. They brought in some more typists and layout people. And figuring out schedules by which everybody could work at the maximum speed. And we had an organization chart, little colored chips that showed where each volume was in the workflow. And so we started going at it. And basically, we chanted our rounds. We went to Mangal Arti, and that was, and the rest of the time was all for press work. We ate, we did all those things. But as far as the usual devotional activities, Bhagvatam class, and all of those things, I think all we did was Mangal Arti and chanting our rounds. That was all. And the rest of the time we were speeding ahead. And because of the production, you could be woken up at any time of the day, of the night, because we need a page proofread, or we need some pages laid out, or we need something typeset, or we need this, or we need that.
One thing I remember, Radha Ballabha Prabhu just came to you, Radha Ballabha Prabhu. He came to you, he was sleeping, and then he woke you up, handed you 20 pages. And then he just said language, he wants them now.
Yeah, that was going on all the time. That they needed it when they needed it. So we just worked, and so we didn't consider that, no, this is my rest time, or this is off limits, or listen, I have my sadhana, I have my schedule. When they needed it, they needed it. Even the art was, they set deadlines for the artists, and if the artist hadn't finished, they'd take the painting anyway. There was some painting, Rukmini's fanning Krishna. The fan has no handle. Because the handle, and they didn't finish the handle before they needed to take the picture. So these things were going on somehow or other, just speeding ahead. And Prabhupada got the books on time. But it meant that we had to be just absorbed in our service. There was no time practically to think about anything else. Now, many devotees have that experience. They go on a Sankirtan marathon and they have nothing to think about except their goal of distributing a certain number of books. So that's a privilege, that to be given some service and to be always absorbed in that service, so much so that you forget about eating, you forget about sleeping, you forget about your material concoctions of how you wanted to enjoy. There's just no time for it. You may not forget about eating and sleeping, but you just do it as you can. And for the enjoyment stuff, there's just no, it has to go on the shelf. You can't even think about it. There's no time. Well, that's brilliant. The spiritual master looks for ways to engage his disciples fully in Krishna's service, so that Maya won't be able to enter.
So, this service is intense.
Plus, it's not just that he wanted to engage us. He wanted those books. He had aspirations. He had his own goals to achieve for his spiritual master. So to achieve his goals of service to his spiritual master, he engaged us. We also had to figure out 5th canto while we were working on it.
Those new universal knowledge,
Hmm?
those chapters.
Yeah, the whole universe. Now it's fairly well known how things are situated, at least in principle. But when we first were receiving those chapters, where is everything? Yeah, there's an island, and there's an ocean, and there's an island, and there's an ocean. I had a desk like maybe 3 times the size of this with paper cups. And I was putting, okay, this island is here, and that island is here, and that island is here, and this is over here, and that's over there. And I was trying to, because just to keep it in my head all at once was too much. Okay, this verse says this is here. Right, this verse says that. At some point, it clicked in that these islands were concentric. Who thinks of islands as being, you think of the Hawaiian Islands or the Andamans, or thinking, there's ocean, and then there's an island. But where do you find an ocean, and then an island, and then an ocean, and then an island that surrounds the ocean, and another ocean that surrounds the island, and like donuts in a... So it finally clicked in with me at some point that this is what's going on, that because otherwise, where is this? And this one's twice, each ocean, twice as wide as the previous one. And then it all makes sense. Similarly, we had the vertical business. This many yojanas above this is this many yojanas above that is that, and the total diameter of the universe is this. At that time, we didn't have, I don't know if we even had pocket calculators. Maybe we did. But, to take all those numbers and either add them up by hand or put them in a calculator and try and figure, wait a second, this number, one of these numbers must be wrong because da-da-da-da-da. And at one point, anyway, we finally got them all. And we had one devotee who joined. He was a devotee, he joined us there in Los Angeles, and he was a draftsman by profession. So he did the drawings that you see or should see in the 5th canto.
After the canto, that hierarchy chart. The hierarchy chart.
There's one that shows planets vertically, and another one that shows Bhumandala, and then there's another one that shows the transit of the sun, so that the days get longer and the days get shorter as the different signs of the zodiac. These 3, I think there were 3. These 3 charts were done for Srimad Bhagvatam. So they came out in time. And we got criticized at some point for having our numbers wrong, but they were right. Because they calculated that this many yojanas above the sun, but it's above the rays of the sun, or like that sort of mistake. But we got it right. We did. But math is one of my worst, arithmetic, I'm very bad at arithmetic, so I was further disadvantaged because you had to add up all these sums and somehow or other make it come out, which it did.
So this intense service that you have 2 months, must have been very, very beautiful.
That was the greatest fun we ever had in our life.
That's the greatest
fun we ever had in our life.
Okay, so Mada asked that you were reading Srimad Bhagavatam before these 2 months. You were reading Srimad Bhagavatam before the service started, and you were reading Srimad Bhagavatam after the service finished. So, did you find any significant difference in the manner used to understand the Bhakti-Jnana quotes?
No. It's not that because we did 17 books in 2 months, the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam was revealed to us, and thereafter everything read differently. We just went on and worked on the 6th canto and so on. We were always reading Bhagavatam that way, really looking for errors and looking for, okay, what is this verse supposed to mean, and what's the proper grammar and all of that. We were always reading it that way, before, during, and after. But that rush was a concentrated time for working. Otherwise, the whole time we were doing that same work.